Catch up on the conversation. Listen via the BBC Sounds app.
Mornings with Stephen Jardine on BBC Radio Scotland.
Net migration into the UK has reached record levels. New figures from the Office for National Statistics show the number of people arriving last year was far higher than originally thought. According to the ONS, the difference between the number of people coming to live in the UK and those leaving was 745,000, more than the population of Glasgow, the vast majority coming from outside the European Union. Number 10 said this figure's far too high, but is taking action about it. Labour leader Keir Starmer said it was shockingly high, a failure not just of immigration, but also of asylum and of the economy as well. Scottish Government, different approach to this, issuing a new policy paper this month saying people seeking asylum and refugees would be welcomed and integrated into our communities. So what's your attitude to migration? 80295, if you want to text us this morning. MC in East Lothian. The reason people are giving for opposing migration are at best xenophobic and at worst racist. Until people admit that, the debate won't move forwards. Another one, there's a lot of noise around this debate. The key underlying issue is, do you believe in nation states and borders, or do you think people should be able to move freely and settle anywhere around the world with limited control? And Rob, we spoke a little bit earlier on this morning. Neil and Dumfries says, get him into Parliament. Here's Glenn in Ayrshire this morning as well. Sorry, but we need to pay our own people more for care work, etc. Train our own doctors. Our country has more migration than USA. Why must we take the world's problems unvetted, unwanted? We need action before we lose our identity. That's what Glenn says. What do you say? 80295, if you want to text us this morning. 08085 92 95 00. Right, a bit earlier we tried to speak to Dr. Sarah Kyambi. We've managed to sort the line to her. She's Director of Migration Policy, Scotland. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning.
That's much better. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm right in thinking you've helped feed into Scottish Government policy around this, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
The statistics are complicated across it. What's going on in Scotland with migration at the moment?
Well, one of the difficulties is that what we have here is UK-wide statistics, so you can't really see what's going on underneath that in terms of the different UK regions or the different nations like Scotland. So while we do have unusually high figures that are driven by things like Ukrainians and Hong Kongers, as well as students and work visas, what we don't know is who of that is coming to Scotland. And I think within there that there's sort of a puzzle between, yes, we have more people coming than before, and some of them very clearly needed. But yet, what's going on in Scotland, and how can Scotland attract the people it needs?
We spoke earlier, I don't know if you heard this, to Struan Stevenson, former Conservative MEP, who said that people are actively choosing not to come to Scotland at the moment because of Scottish Government policies, slightly higher tax rates here, different service provision, etc. Any evidence that's the case?
Currently, not that I've seen. I've not investigated that issue specifically, so you may be aware of evidence that I've not seen. What we've seen is, Scotland's obviously, it is, like, for instance, on the humanitarian schemes, you can see that more people have come from Ukraine because of the super sponsor scheme and that kind of activity in Scotland. And similarly, we saw that on some of the resettlement schemes, whereas Hong Kongers are underrepresented in Scotland by head of population. So there are interesting differences, and trying to understand what's driving that is still an open question as far as I know.
How big is the need? I read out this figure earlier, Sarah, which I probably got from you actually in some research. Without people moving here, the population of Scotland would have fallen by 50,000 since 2011 due to deaths here outstripping births. What's the gap that we've got here in Scotland that needs to be filled?
Well, these projections keep getting updated, so I can't specify what the most recent number on that gap is. But what we know is that migration plays an absolutely key role in maintaining population size in Scotland and in contributing to population growth. And that's been the case over the last 20 years. And there has been this huge reorientation of migration in terms of origin. So previously we had a lot of people coming from the EU, and they were coming to Scotland with, Poles becoming the largest migrant group in Scotland in that time. And now we can see that people are coming from other parts of the world, from India, from China. And what we're not seeing, what we're not so clear on is, are those people also coming to Scotland or not? And if they aren't, I would suggest that that's a problem in terms of population projections for Scotland.
So really, we need more research into this. We need to really understand where people, of that 745,000 that arrived last year, where those people are going and what they're doing. We need to understand much better.
Where they're going, what they're doing, particularly according to the different categories. So, for instance, like we've seen lots of people are coming under health and social care visas. Where are they going? There's lots of new students. Where are they going? And just, and I know that the Scottish Government, for instance, have some, they're launching a talent attraction and migration service. We would need to follow what the impact of that is in actually managing to attract people to Scotland and to help them to integrate and stay in Scotland. Because that it's both about making sure people are aware of Scotland and that it's a destination they can go to that's attractive to them, but also making sure that they stay.
Sarah, thanks for your time this morning. Dr. Sarah Kyambi, there's Director of Migration Policy Scotland. Let's wrap this up with Graham, who's in Nairn this morning. Graham, good morning.